Hello guys, very controversial video here. Now don't take it as a personal attack or anything. It's just, you guys know if you watch my videos, at least time of recording, I make a lot of religion-based content. And there's one specific religion that I don't tend to talk about for obvious reasons, and that is the religion that calls itself Islam. Okay, the Muslims, the Islamic Muslims, whatever you want to call them. I don't care if it's Sunni. I don't care if it's whatever other sect they have. You know, because at this point, eventually they're gonna. I'm not trying to be rude about this, but like, I genuinely think that in the East as well, they're gonna genuinely start making queer Muslims, okay? Now, don't take that as an automatic bad thing, but if you are on the stricter side, or if you're a Muslim yourself, you might ask yourself, how could that happen? How is there a transgender Muslim? That's a thing for some reason. Well, that's because it's big enough in the West, or it's just big enough, at least in the form of believers, that it's gotten to that point. I don't know if it will create schism or anything like that, but it is what it is, I can't do anything about it, And it's not like I'm here to debate the Quran, okay? Why? Because, well, Muslims do that to each other all the time. Because, not everybody can agree on everything, obviously. I mean, it's not. Because the thing about Islam is, unlike other religions such as Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, stuff like that, Islam, at least in the Western world, is a lot more controversial. It's a lot more harder to cover. And a lot of the people, when it comes to the controversial stuff anyway, have mostly either covered it or talked about it. From pro-Islam and anti-Islam arguments, from a lot of pro-Muslim people and a lot of anti-Muslim people. Pro-Muslim people being like Mudahar and what was his name? Mohammed the 13th? I don't know. I don't really pay attention to who is the current king of Saudi Arabia, alright? Or what is currently called Saudi Arabia, because, I don't know. I'm not from that part of the world, so I can't say. Anyway, what I can tell you is there were a lot of former Muslims and a lot of people who used to be a part of that religion, and especially if they were born and raised into like a strict family and they were like really devout believers, especially if they're women. Ooh, this is like regardless of sect usually, but not always. For something that claims to be the religion of peace, at least in the West, it's kind of hard to say that when every time there's an apostate from your religion, becomes an apostate or something, they're killed. A lot of them are killed, unfortunately. And you might not be a political person. Okay, you might be a Muslim. You might look at me and go, especially you women out there who are Muslim, you might look at me and go, "Oh, I'm not a political person, and I'm a Muslim. I don't get into politics." Good for you, okay? Because politics is complicated. But for the Muslims who do, they tend to because in Christianity, for example, just to compare, just to like explain it, in Christianity, when they have a theocracy, the religion and the state are two mixed entities. Like they're two separate entities to combine into one. Whereas in Islam theocracies or Islamic countries, the religion is the state. In Christian countries, there's no separation of church and state in that way. But they do have those. Islam, I've never seen an Islamic country that never separates mosque and state. You know? Now, there may be some of them somewhere. Who knows? Maybe even in the Middle East. I don't know. But what I can say is that, like, if you're what they call a kafir, in English anyway, I don't know so much about in Arabic, you know, because the Quran is translated, it's in classical Arabic, so not everybody can completely understand it, even if they speak Arabic, because it might not be a part of their dialect or something. But even if it is, you know, there are so many different groups and stuff like that, just like any other religion is. But the big difference is that this religion has a, like, what they call a kafir, or like a non-believer, like a non-believer they don't like, or something like that. Basically, the more you get called a kafir, it's usually either for one of two reasons. Either you started talking about that Muhammad guy, okay? I don't really know too much about it, other than Muslims talk about it a lot. But it mostly has to do with their holy book, so I'm going to leave it with that. And your Muslims out there, you can debate it amongst yourselves. But because of this, you have either that, or they're an ex-Muslim. Okay? They're an ex-Muslim. They're like, I don't know, a friend of David Woods, or a friend of the apostate prophet. If you don't know who those people are, well, I'm sad to say, you don't know your Islam as much as you think you do, if you don't know what those kind of people are. Because if you don't know that kind of worldview, even if you're a Muslim, it ain't gonna go down too well. But I'm not saying that you're stupid, okay? You probably know a lot more about religion than your average Muslim would, okay? You probably know just a whole lot, you know? For all I know, you could be somebody from frickin' Mecca, okay? I know that much, alright? That kind of thing. But regardless, I tell you this right now. They are very different, because the East and the West, like when it comes to Islam, because in the West they'll say stuff like, if they're from the Western world, they tend to say stuff like, oh, Islam is the religion of peace. Islam is the religion of Muhammad's best. And in the East, or if they're from the East, they'll tend to say stuff like, oh, Muhammad is the holiest prophet to ever exist, or something along those lines. Or they'll say Islam is the religion of submission, you know? They'll say Islam is to submit. Very different from the whole Islam is the religion of peace, you know? And I asked a lot of Eastern Muslims about this, and they said they don't like to call Islam the religion of peace, because it sounds like they're weak to their enemies, you know? That's just how they phrase it. I don't know. I don't really speak Arabic, classical Arabic, in the historical sense, so I have no idea if that even makes sense in their language. I don't know. What I can tell you is, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna make too many videos on this. Now, I may mention it in the case of talking about other religions and stuff like that later on this channel. But yeah, Islam is very controversial. It's very big. Whatever opinions or thoughts you have, that is up to you to decide. I can only convince you for so long. It's only up to you if you want to believe in, the Kaaba, Islam in general, the color green, I guess, Muhammad, and, a mosque, stuff like that, or hijab or whatever. Anyway, but yeah, that's all I got to say about the Islam or whatever. Anyway, yeah, very controversial, but what are you gonna do? It's a religion. Well, I guess, but yeah, I can only do so much. Anyway, that's all I got for today, and yeah, I'm gonna end the video. See you later, and just remember, that's the end of it. Bye!